Oh, there I am.
There you are. There it goes.
Oh, could you
Zooming
leave?
in.
I didn't do that.
It does it automatically. Although I don't know if we can do anything with the lights. We'll
I
just
know,
be a
it's
little
kinda-
washed out. That's okay. We can be a little washed out.
Hello, sorry, I'm a little late. There's Hannah.
Oh, good. I was gonna say, is Hannah gonna join us virtually or in person? And
Looks
that
like
answers
she's
that.
Joining us virtually.
That answers that.
Margaret's coming. Did you send out the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have to try to,
I did to all the parent reps.
if some in parent rep comes.
Maybe we could just like put it in the chat, like the order of stuff.
That's a good idea.
Okay. Oh, because it's, I mean, it's not like a super detailed one. It's like a bullet list, bullet point.
What are we talking about?
The agenda.
I was suggesting we could just put it in the chat. But I think everybody who's currently here already has a copy of it. I already emailed everyone who's currently on Zoom.
Did any,
All those emails I sent you, and they're all red, obviously.
was there any carryover from the parent meeting at the school? Did any of those people move on to the parent, to this meeting after it or no?
They were already done and leaving by the time we got here.
What was that meeting?
It was a parenting meeting.
What, like how to be a parent meeting?
I think something like that, like just.
For Marcy
Like
families or for the district?
developmental, I don't know if it was district-wide or just Marcy families.
Got it.
But like where your kid is developmentally
Sure.
and what to expect or think about or
So, yeah.
whatever.
It's called Sapeo. It's offered throughout the district by district staff at different schools.
Does not seem loud, it doesn't.
Yeah,
It doesn't seem.
loud
Can you
enough.
guys hear us? Okay,
We just can't hear you. Maybe we have to huddle around the TV over there.
I mean, it's coming out of this, it seems like,
okay.
but somebody else say something.
Something.
Hello, hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, it's really quiet.
It is
So
quiet. Is it turned up on your computer all the way too? Or is it only through?
Hello, everyone. This is my.
Nice detail work on the sleeve there.
We can just get closer too.
Yeah, I guess so. Both things are turned up. It's really strange. Whoa.
That did
That was
something. Stop doing that.
I'm turning it down now.
Oh yeah, maybe if you do that. Does that have a volume thing?
That sounds a volume thing,
I did this volume thing and it went all the way up.
but I'm gonna try on this thing. Could someone speak to me, please?
Hello, I am speaking to you. Can you hear
Thank
me?
you, Emily.
And why does this keep falling?
It just, it really wants us to be at the midline.
Will you
level.
say something else, Emmy?
Yes, I will keep talking as long as you want me to until you can get the volume.
You
how
got
you
it.
Want it to be. Okay, I'll stop.
That was perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we did it.
I have the remote here in case you need to adjust that.
Thanks. Look at that teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work, my friends.
Well, maybe not ceiling view. That's probably not what we want. Wow, we're really working with technological.
Firing on all
Yeah.
cylinders tonight, friends. All right, let us do a warm
Oh, thanks, Hannah.
welcome. We can do introductions and then we want to send it over to Hannah, our community ed extraordinaire, to share information with us. And then there's some actually kind of a lot of miscellaneous information to share too. So if we can go around and share our name, our pronouns, and our connection to Marcy, however that may be. Would anyone like to start?
You start.
My name is Claire. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the chair of Family Connections. I have a second grader in Rachel's class and 2 future Marcy Marlins, one of which I realize I'm gonna have to register like very soon for kindergarten next year. So there we go.
Right, I'll go next since I'm just right here.
Perfect.
I am Carrie. I use she, her pronouns. I have 2 children at Marcy. I have a 4th grader in Chris's class and a 1st grader in Brannigan's class. And I'm a parent rep.
I'm Kate, she, her pronouns. I am the treasurer currently, and I have an Oliver in 4th grade in Chris's class and a Milo in 1st grade in currently Miss N's class. At some point will be Tiffany's class. And I'm gonna tell Emmy to go.
Hi, I'm Emmy. What were you, in whose class? Is there a Ms. N?
Miss Nelson, Miss N, yes, but she's the sub until Tiffany comes back from parental leave.
Ah, I see. Yes, I'm Emmy. I use she, her pronouns, and my kiddo Lily is in 1st grade in Brannigan's class, and my younger one is 4. And yes, we'll be registering him soon for high 5 for next year.
Sweet.
And I'm going to pass to Sonia with the excitement of our new school board member, who I'm so excited about.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm not on camera tonight. I am Sonia Emmerich. I use any pronouns. I have a Marcy 1st grader. He received services homebound because of disability, but he is in Brannigan's class. And I am in year two of being a parent rep, and I love Marcy. So thanks for having me, and I will pass to Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm a parent rep and I have a son, Leo, who's in 1st grade in Nicole's class. And I'll pass to Opera.
Hi, I'm Abra Staffen-Wiebe. I have my older child graduated from Marcy, and my younger one is Thea, who's in 3rd grade in Miss Doty's class. And I don't think, Taylor, you haven't gone yet, have you?
No. Hi, I am Taylor. I have a child in I use he, him pronouns. I have a child in Miss Nicole's 1st grade class, and I am a parent rep. And then I guess I'll pass it either back to Claire or over to Hannah.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect time to introduce Hannah and let Hannah do your presentation and share all of the information. Hannah did put a link in the chat if you would like to see that and follow along. But Hannah, let me pass it off to you.
No, that was the chat for what was happening earlier,
Oh,
right? The
I
parent
thought-
group earlier this evening.
I'm gonna go.
I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. I was just gonna do that. Thank you, Carrie. I'm sorry. I'm with that. Go ahead, Hannah.
No worries. So what she was mentioning is I put a link in the chat for more information about CPEO, which is the event that was happening for parents at Marcy earlier this evening. My name is Hannah and I am a parent. So I have a 4th grader in Miss Melissa's class, as well as the community ed coordinator starting this year. I'm super excited to be at Marcy and have been having a ton of fun working with the kids the past couple of weeks and kind of getting our feet under us for after school. And I just kind of want to come talk to you guys a little bit about how we fund our program and just kind of like how that whole thing functions. I've heard a lot of questions from parents about how that all gets pulled together, like where the money comes from, why we can't run some classes as opposed to others and things like that. So I thought this would be a really great group to start with to kind of explain what our process is. So am I able to share?
I will let you.
Okay. Oh,
Co-host. Now you should be able to.
all right. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Okay, so I just put together a quick presentation here, so we can pop into that. Just about community ed at Marcy, and then a little bit more details about our program in general. So community education, we were the first community ed services department in the state. We include youth and adult programming throughout the city, Minneapolis kids childcare, adult education, any community use of facilities, as well as our full service community schools. And we hold the philosophy that the school serves all of the community. So facilities are a common resource. Educational opportunities should reflect the interests of citizens and students. Quality education is enhanced when there's a close relationship between community and the school. And community involvement should be involved in decisions that affect the community. And that part's critical. And coordination of community services is necessary, and the school can assist in this by developing a delivery system based upon identifying need and service availability. So community education as a whole covers a lot of different areas in MPS outside of the direct instruction of students on the day-to-day basis. So this is me. My name is Hannah, and this is just a little information about me as a coordinator at Marcy. So I really enjoy like reading, painting, camping. I grew up working with Heart of the Beast Theater, and I've been pretty well involved with art organizations around the Twin Cities throughout my life. I have a background in youth studies through the University of Minnesota, and I'm about halfway through a master's in social work. And then at home, I have 3 dogs and 2 cats, so I like to keep things hectic everywhere. So in addition to the youth programming that you guys know about, we also offer adult programming through Marcy. So part of my position is coordinating 55+ programming around the east side of Minneapolis. So right now I'm working on coordinating the Southeast Seniors program with the Southeast Seniors organization. And then we'll be kind of expanding that out into Northeast as well as we continue through the school year. So I've just listed some different topics we have coming up this spring. So that is part of what I do outside of the after school program. And then obviously we have our youth programs at Marcy. So after school is a combination of enrichment and extended learning. And the differences between those two things are enrichment can be any class offered on any topic that students or instructors are interested in learning about. Extended learning classes or ALC classes, for example, Gems and Guys, those are based specifically in a curriculum that has been okayed by Minneapolis Public Schools curriculum development and is taught by a licensed teacher. So both of those directions kind of give us opportunities to engage students in different ways. And I'm really glad that we have both of those options on site at Marcy. Some of our classes this fall, as you guys may know, we've had a photography and video class. Dungeons and Dragons was much more popular than I expected. Cooking has been all the rave. And I'm crossing my fingers I'm able to keep my cooking instructor on for next session. Arts and crafts, 3D printing and coding, and chess clubs are some of the classes that we had this session that filled up really quickly and kids seem to really be enjoying. So it comes to funding. So my process, I've just laid it out here, but so I connect with either individuals who want to teach at the school, at which one I do an interview and we talk about what they want to teach and what kinds of things they can provide and what experience they have. And if they feel like a good fit, I hire them on as temporary staff to lead a class. And then our other way is we bring in community partners. So this session, we have Twin City Chess Club offering our chess club here at Marcy. CSGA, which is a gaming organization, is providing our Dungeons and Dragons class, as well as our 3D printing class. We partner with the Y to provide a STEAM class and comic book club, which is always very popular. So I work with these organizations to bring them in, determine the cost that they're looking to be paid. So depending on the organization, some of them are like, we'll do this for free because we get our funding elsewhere. And others need to be paid a certain amount to pay the instructor, to purchase supplies or things like that. From that, I calculate a per student cost for the course and determine a sliding fee scale. which is included in the registration when that goes live. And then about 2 to 3 weeks before the program starts, I talk with the partner about how much revenue we've brought in and whether or not it's feasible to move forward. So I know that's a lot of information. I broke it down here a little bit more specifically. So this past fall, I worked with Adventures in Cardboard to come up with a class plan at Marcy. Super excited to have them. I've worked with a lot of their staff in the past through Heart of the Beast. And the cost we were given to run the course was $1,700 for the session, which comes out to about $170 per student just for that organization's cost. Once I put it through our calculator that we have that incorporates like my staff time as well as other costs of like keeping the building open and different things like that into it, it came out to $200 a student. So that's what it was listed as the course cost. All of our courses are offered on a sliding fee scale. So we offer the course at the cost of the course, and then we offer 2 higher options for families who are able to contribute more to kind of help the program and help cover the cost of families who aren't able to pay those full costs. So we offer 120% and 150. And then we offer a low cost option of 50% of the cost of the course. And then there's always a free option. So that's included in the registration, and those options are all there when someone registers for the course. At Marcy, we have a very high amount of frame reduced lunch students, much higher than many of the other schools who run this model of funding. So we find that we bring in less revenue than many other schools where this functions a little bit better. But we also are not included in the citywide grant that covers some of the other programs. So we're kind of like at that middle phase where we're transitioning our population and still functioning on the systems that have functioned in the past, but don't function quite as well here for our current population of students. So for the cardboard class, this date is totally wrong. It's not February 10th. But 2 weeks before the program started, there were 12 students enrolled and we had collected $0 in revenue, which led to me sending an email that said, we made $0 in revenue. 70% of 0 is 0. Can you do the class for $0? To which the response was no. They came back with an offer that they would need a minimum of $1,200 to run the program, which unfortunately I did not have. So that's one class that this fall that we had a lot of interest in, but had to cancel because we didn't have the funding incoming through our revenue sources. This also played out with our arena dance class, as well as Heartbeat Theater and Musical Theater Minnesota. So there were a number of classes that we had to cancel because we had a good amount of interest in the class, but not enough revenue gathered to pay the amounts that they were asking to pay their staff. So just a rundown of my budget for fall, just so you guys can see it. So I received $2,500 in grant funding. That was for this fall session. I'll receive another grant in January, but that will need to cover both the winter session and the spring. And then the revenue from the courses that I gathered was $1,685. So our staffing, the folks I hired on to teach classes, cost about $2,500. So that basically takes up my grant funding right there. $1,450 went to pay partners to lead the courses. And then I had $235 left to cover supplies for classes, as well as basic office supplies like papers for flyers and such as that. So we used the whole budget to offer what we're offering. And ultimately the big takeaway I had was like, we can run this program on what we're getting, but there are these really cool opportunities that we have to bring in new organizations and new experiences for our students. But our population of students isn't able to fund that by paying for classes like they are at some schools. So I wanted to come to you guys and just kind of brainstorm whether there were any opportunities for fundraising or maybe having like a pot of funds set aside. So like if, for example, we have a class, the one I anticipate this winter session, I just brought on, sorry, my dog just broke in. I just brought on Northern Clay Center, which I'm really excited about. And they will be teaching an 8-week class on hand pottery. They will be taking all the pots that the kids create and bringing them off to Northern Play Center to fire them, and we'll return them to the kids to bring home. So the kids will go home at the end of it with 8 pots, which is super exciting and sounds super cool. And I'm really hoping it works out. But it's going to cost $2,700 to run the class. And they are open to reducing costs wherever they can. But ultimately, in the end, the class that brought in the most amount of money last session brought in $775. And their staff alone for Northern Play Center costs over $9. So at the minimum of covering the cost of their staff, I would still need an additional $200 or so to cover that cost, let alone supplies and anything like that. So I'm running into this problem where we have these school opportunities, but aren't bringing in the revenue to cover the cost for those. And I start with a budget of basically zero at the start of the session. And so if there's a way for us to collaborate and kind of pull together some ways to bring in funding specifically to fund some of these opportunities, I think it would be great for our school as a whole and to provide a more diverse option of different enrichment for our students after school. This is just more about how to join us. If you want to be a teacher, sign up for a class, anything like that. Do you guys have any questions or comments for me?
Yeah, I'm curious. Thanks for sharing more information. I'm curious, you mentioned briefly, but I didn't totally catch, like, schools across the district who have community ed programs, obviously all have different student populations and student needs and whatnot. So is there some funding? I mean, do you see funding disparities, or do you feel like it's pretty equitably funded?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a funding disparity, but they are based on maybe some older numbers than what we're currently experiencing. So there's 2 kinds of programs in community ed youth programming. One of those is a grant-based program. So there's a grant called the 21st Century Grant that's provided by the city of Minneapolis, and it funds, it's like 10 to 15 different programs throughout Minneapolis public schools. So those sites are able to provide their programming for free to all of their population, no matter what. And so that grant is kind of set in stone, and there is no way to alter it or get that money to any other sites. So as we've seen demographic shift in the district, that money isn't necessarily transferable because of the way it's built into the grant. So there's those kinds of sites. Everyone outside of those sites are fee-based programs, which function like Marcy does right now, where we charge a fee for our programs. And in technicality, we're supposed to keep 70% of the revenue, and we're supposed to pay, or no, sorry, we're supposed to keep 30% of the revenue, and 70% goes out to the organizations that we're working with. In an ideal world, we would cover the cost of the program with the 70% we're giving them. And in some instances, at some schools, they're able to give the organizations even more than necessarily what they're asking for, because that 70% is higher. At Marcy, where we're bringing in, on average, between $100 and $300 per course in revenue, the 70% of that we're giving to the organizations doesn't even begin to cover the cost of staffing and supplies and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's less, there's a bit of a disparity, but it's only because of how the grant functions and that grant has not been opened up to additional sites. So the rest of us are kind of making do with what we have. And like I said, it functions. Like, I was able to cover the cost of our fall session. We're able to provide programming. We're serving over 100 students. We're having success in the way that it's measured. However, we're having to walk away from opportunities that, say boroughs in South Minneapolis likely doesn't have to walk away from, because they're able to bring in the funding through their revenue. in a way that we're not. Abra?
Yes, so Marcy has certain funding set aside specifically for arts enrichment activities, and this seems some of the programs, specifically like the theater that you'd mentioned, seem that they would fit with that mandate. Can you have any of that funding to pay for the community ed? Because it's given to the school specifically to add this kind of enrichment.
I mean, I didn't know that existed first. So that's really good to know. I think I would have to check with Trinity about how that funding kind of travels through the school. I and our after school program are technically run by the community education department, and we are not actually part of the Marcy budget in any way, shape, or form. We're completely separate. So I don't know if we would have access to that funding. However, it's definitely something I can look into because I think that would be a really good avenue to look down.
Particularly, I mean, you might need to tie it back into a performance at the school during regular school hours at the end of it to, you know, justify the money moving around a little bit or
Yes.
something like that. But I know we do have a special fund. But I know we do have funding specifically for the arts to add that kind of enrichment. And last year, at least, they were looking pretty hard to try and find places to spend it. And I think this year they probably have a better handle on that, but you know.
First year back from COVID was hard.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you for that information. I will definitely follow up with Trinity and Jess about it and see if that's something that we could possibly access if needed. Taylor?
So you had said that like the grant is set in stone. I assume that gets reviewed on an annual basis, or like how often is that reviewed?
I believe it's every 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And my understanding is that they are in the middle of a review of it right now. And I asked if it was possible to take into consideration the changing demographics of our schools, because the schools who do access it like are all very much needing it. But there are new schools kind of in the fray now after the CDD that have that shift in demographics and have a higher need than they have in the past. And I was told that it is absolutely not possible to try to include new schools in it at this point.
You would think if they were going to move kids around to schools and change where everybody's going to school, that a review would be kind of necessary. And then just a follow-up, like,
yeah,
what you also said that Marcy is like on the cusp of kind of crossing that threshold of funding with the grant. Do you know whether or not, like, if there was a review, if you know the threshold, like, would Marcy cross that line for the funding?
So I imagine that we're close to it, just based on our free and reduced numbers this year, and the fact that we qualified for free lunch across the entire school. So just knowing that, as well as our homeless and highly mobile numbers across the school, I imagine that we fall into a similar category as the schools who do receive that grant funding. But like I said, I was told, it was like the first thing I did. I was like, so this grant's up for review, like, how do we get in on that? And I was told that's not at all possible this year. Still pushing for it. I'm taking this in every direction I possibly can. I worked at Anderson previously. My last job was with the homeless and highly mobile department through Minneapolis Public Schools. So it is one of my like key focuses is making sure this is accessible to all of our students, regardless of their background, and that we are incorporating that mindset into how I create this program, and that I'm bringing opportunities and not just the free opportunities to our kids. Just part of why I'm here, kind of poking in every direction that I can to see what I can do to bring in funding to support that.
Okay, thanks. And then I'll just add one thing before I mute myself. My daughter's doing a class that I believe doesn't have a fee, so I don't think I was ever given an option of possibly like contributing.
Yes.
And we probably would have if that was an option. But as far as I remember, it was like it didn't cost anything and we weren't given the option.
Yes, that's another thing that I brought to my supervisors, was that we add like I would like to make a donation option or something like that in the registration form. And I was told that we are not allowed legally by legal at MPS to ask for donations. So I can't go create a GoFundMe page. I can't add a donation to Marcy Community Ed onto our registration. But I can work with others, such as Family Connections, to bring in funding in other ways, as long as it's not community education in ourselves asking for donations.
So what you're saying, and I'm sorry, I know I see Sonia's hand and I don't want to interrupt you, Sonia, but just to clarify what you're saying is you can't say, hey, can you donate to help community ed? But you could say, hey, Family Connections, could you ask people for donations?
Yes.
And then just give you whatever donations come in. That's okay. But
Yeah.
not let me pay $20 for the programming is not okay.
Yes.
Okay.
just part of why I'm here. And it's frustrating because I'm like, I could just add a button, and I know we have families who would love to contribute, who maybe weren't given that option in their registration. But yes, so that's part of why I'm here, is that I can't ask for it, but if someone else in the Marcy community were to ask for it and pull together something, then that funding could be used. Sonia.
Yeah, so Taylor, you and Taylor kind of touched on my question, but not totally. I know that you mentioned that there are times when you have folks who are willing to volunteer to provide this opportunity to our students. And so when you're creating the fee schedule for that type of an opportunity where there is not an external staffing cost, are you bound by policy to that fee schedule where, in kind of like Taylor mentioned, you have to offer it for no money? Or could you create a fee schedule that didn't necessarily represent the staffing cost, or like, this is going to sound weird, but like inflate the material fee, you know what I mean? So that you were still offering a free option, but I'm wondering if there would be a way to really build out partnerships with those few great folks out there, or find more who will do it for free or very low cost, and then sort of subsidize those higher cost opportunities in that way. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I don't know what you're
Absolutely.
bound to in terms of policy.
No, actually, I appreciate you saying that, Sonia. I do a little bit of that where I'm able to. So some of our contracts with organizations, so for example, the YMCA, who does our comic book club, Y STEAM, and kids fitness class, they offer free programming, and in our contract, it says we are not allowed to charge. So that one I have to list at $0 no matter what. ALC classes, so enrichment class or non-enrichment classes that are led by a licensed instructor, we're not allowed to list a fee for those because they're education based. Outside of that, I do have a couple of folks that I'm working with, including the parks, as well as Northern Star Scouts, who provide their programming for nothing. And so I do list a cost for those because I'm able to. And I use those funds to kind of help remedy some of the gaps elsewhere. I believe last session I was able to bring in about $700 by doing that, which absolutely helped our program function, but doesn't cover the additional cost of some of those more expensive programs that we're trying to bring in.
Got it. Thanks so much for explaining that.
Yeah. No
The other
problem.
question I had is there a partnership with the Hennepin County Library System in terms of any of this programming? Is that an explored partnership opportunity?
I know that we are community partners with the library, but I have not, I believe I reached out to them in the fall and didn't hear back, which it was a super busy time. So it is one of the ones I have on my list to reach out to again in the future, but not at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Abra?
Yeah, so a couple more thoughts.
Yeah.
Based on, so what Taylor was mentioning about when he registered their kid, when I registered my child for a couple of classes that did have fees, but it wasn't clear that there was a minimum that would need to be raised overall for the class to go on.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's an intentional omission, but if I had known that this class must raise X amount, or even if this class does not raise sufficient funds, we will regretfully have to cancel it.
Mhm.
That probably would have, maybe I'd have thrown an extra $20, more than
Yep.
the amount that I managed already. So that's just a wording thing on the class descriptions that might boost participation a little bit. If people know that the class's existence is actually on the line.
Yeah.
My other question is, have you worked in fundraising partnerships with the partners who are providing the classes? For example, the Clay Center. If the Clay Center has a minimum fee, are you able to request that they put up a little sign saying, hey, donate an extra $2 on your purchase, and it goes to help support our program at Marcy School for the Arts, after school programming for elementary age children, something like that, with a funding must be received by such and such date, or they could put out something in their newsletter. If
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
think
if that's too close to funding for you, maybe it's not too close to fundraising for our parent group to coordinate with potential partners to do that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think that's a fabulous idea. It's not one that I've done before. So the majority of organizations we were working with last time around, where we didn't need the funding, like none of them have like physical buildings or shops or anything like that.
But their newsletter, their regular newsletter, their
Yeah.
regular contributors, a lot of them are probably already nonprofits. So
Yep.
they're used to doing a certain amount of fundraising.
Yep. Well, and I think that with the Northern Clay Center, that might be actually like a wonderful idea, because they do have a shop that people come into and can purchase things in addition to their classes. So I really like that idea. It's not one I've done in the past. I have talked with organizations about their own, like developing their own subsidies for programming like this. So a lot of the organizations that we had to cancel with last session were like, we want to be there. We really want to be serving this population. We can't afford to either. So they're looking into opportunities on their ends as well to bring in subsidies to cover costs like this when there is a program at a site that maybe can't cover the costs like other schools can. So that's a conversation I've had, but never about the direct fundraising. So I really appreciate that, Deborah.
I was just gonna say, giving like funding matches are always, it seems to be a strong fundraising thing. And I don't know if our parent group can bring up any funds to help support something, making it a match might actually help boost the amount we get overall from that, if we're able to coordinate it with the program that would be funding it, we would be funding.
Yeah. The major one I have on the table right now for winter is the Northern Clay Center. Holding off with the theater groups that we were working with until spring. But then we'll be stepping back in to try to see if we can get those programs up and running again this coming spring session.
So this actually bumps us down a couple points on the agenda, but there was some interest on the Facebook page about Marcy, like school yard signs that say like, hey, I support Marcy School for the Arts.
Mm-hmm.
And Kate found a place where we can buy yard signs at a pretty low cost. And just thinking out loud, what if we did that as a fundraiser for community ed and made it very specifically like, hey, buy a yard sign, this goes to support community ed. Because then, people could either pay the $5 or $10 or whatever the yard sign is, but if they know, hey, this is supporting community ed, maybe I'll just throw you a 20 and say, thank you very much for providing the things. Now, we've never done this fundraiser before, so I have no idea if this will make $100 or $1,000.
Yeah.
But it would be like a tangible thing that people could show their kind of support for and know that this was being used to support community ed.
Yeah, I mean, I would be 100% on board with that. And any support you need from me in order to like make that happen, I would be happy to offer. So I can't ask for donations myself, but I can definitely put my time towards other people asking for them for sure.
Skew people towards a yard sign.
Yes.
Yeah, the 21st century grants, is that through the Department of Ed or through Minneapolis Public Schools?
I think it's through the city of Minneapolis,
Oh, okay.
provided to community ed. As I'm assuming it goes to other schools as school districts as well, but
Okay.
and when they apply for it, they apply for specific schools based on criteria. Yeah.
And
So
that's
I'm definitely pushing for that someday. It's like,
Yeah.
we should be included in this. How I was like, what data do I need to pull? What do I need to write up? Do I need to write an essay? Like, I will do whatever I need to get on this. And was basically told that it's not an option at this time, so.
But did they
hopefully-
say, we're reviewing it right now and maybe in the 2025-26 school year, you could be included? Like, did they give you a timeline? Like,
No,
oh, of course.
no, their response was basically like, this isn't going to happen for you, but I plan to continue pushing buttons to either make it happen or really annoy my supervisors. One or the other will happen.
Well, I think that we should look into the yard sign.
Let's do it.
And that can be a fundraiser for community ed instead of family connections.
Like, cause we need the money too, but we'll find fundraisers, bumper stickers.
Yeah.
More Chipotle nights. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if people
Yeah.
like the idea of yard signs, I can put together, well, I did put together a design, but
Well, and we had a conversation, so Marcy's the Marlins, right? And we were like, we should have a naming contest for all the kids to name the Marlin. Is the Marlin Maya or Marvin or Mohammed or Melvin or
The
I
kids would
don't know, and then
love.
let the kids vote on it, right? They can put all their submissions in November, and then in December they can vote, and then it won't just be Marcy Marlin, it'll be Marvin, the Marcy Marlin.
and then everyone will want to buy a yard sign that has a marlin on it.
Yes. Or other Marcy goods, because now they have a lovable connection to the swordfish.
Yes. Then we just need like a costume.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
but like
swordfish
in
and a
fifth
marlin
grade
are
side, so a
different
fifth
fish.
grader can be the mascot.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I have to slip away, like I sent an email, but I stepped out of a family dinner. I have myself double booked for tonight. But thank you so much for having me, and anything I can do to support in the process, please let me know. I'm happy to step in or provide time or anything along those lines. So
I
You will be
appreciate you
part-
so much sharing this information, Hannah. This is Sonia. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for teaching us about this programming.
thank you guys
Yeah.
for having me and listening. And
Do let us know
Send
if we need to coordinate with any of your potential future partners. Let us know.
yes, I absolutely will. I'll follow up with Northern Clay on Monday when they're back in the office and see if they want to run with that idea. I think that they might.
Cool. Thanks,
Thanks, Hannah.
Hannah.
Yes, thank you guys. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Okay.
Maybe. There we
There you
go.
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 Have a good dinner.
Yes, thank you very much. You guys have a great night.
You too.
Okay, any objection to just approving the meeting minutes from last month? I see no objection. Can I uniformly say it passes?
I move to approve the meeting minutes. Kate moves to approve the meeting minutes. No, Claire, we have to have some order.
Let's just.
I second. Thank you, Carrie.
Okay. So our bake sale wasn't as much of a
Treasurer's
success.
report, we had a
Yes.
bake sale for election day. I think we made $330, which it's not nothing. The last time we did it, we made like 1,000, but it was also a presidential election, so there was a lot more voting participation at the school. Midterms, not quite the same number, although there's a lot of voting this year. There was high voter participation, but it's okay. We made some money. We can keep doing it. I think we're seeing the impact of having some growing pains in terms of how we communicate out to the Marcy community now that the family liaison is not our contact and it's now the assistant principal. So I think we're just trying to figure out
Everyone's role and
Everyone's
how
role.
how to do everything with new principal and assistant principal and community liaison. It's a lot. with
my husband
treating
said
people.
this morning, he's like, I miss having a newsletter every week. And I was like, I didn't think I'd ever hear anybody say that they missed.
Yeah, no, I couldn't find information. I was trying to find some information about when things were, and without the newsletter, there was no way to find out.
Yeah.
So
I think it would be very helpful to bring something. I mean, even if it's not the way it used to be, I think there needs to be some sort of school-wide way to distribute information from partners, from family connections, from teachers, from.
And the website that Kate created for Family Connections is a good source of information, but it's not accessible to everybody. It's only in English. It's all digital. It doesn't have every single event and every single source of information.
And you have to go looking
Right.
for it.
And you have to look for it. So it's not a perfect solution. It's like a little Band-Aid. It's a little Band-Aid. But I also don't want to downplay all the work that you've
No,
done.
but
to,
I
like,
don't
putting
think
the information out there.
I don't think it takes the place of a weekly
No,
newsletter where that newsletter is even a good way to be like, where again do I find this information? Oh, I go to this website. Like, we don't even have that constant connection of like, if you want to know more, remember you go to the website, like,
or phone numbers.
or
for-
phone numbers, or
different-
even like things, like when Kathleen needed socks for the nurse's office, like there's no way to get that information out anymore.
Is that something that's been discussed or brought up with the administration? Because that's definitely been something that's on my mind as well.
Yeah.
it seems like they're trying to do the YouTube videos as a more accessible thing, but I think that's only kind of more accessible for some people sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think maybe that in addition to,
Yes.
I mean, I know like Trinity has linked to the transcript, but yeah, it's still not the
It's
same.
super
And
clunky too. It's
right.
like
again,
opening a file on it. It doesn't.
yeah. Ugh, my
And the
goodness.
folks that we're talking about opening to the transcript is a good example of like, not a lot of people are gonna sit and watch that 10-minute video. Like, give me some printed information that I can reference. Like, it's not a very accessible format to have to watch a video the whole time.
It is beautiful that it's in 3
Lovely,
languages.
it is lovely.
And it's wonderful to see faces, but I think multiple modes of sharing the information is always better than one.
And we need something from the school as a whole, not just from individual teachers who seem to be doing a pretty good job of sending out their individual stuff, but I don't know. In the meantime,
Only for teacher. Some
Do-
teachers have zero communication.
do we need to, do we at Parent Connections need to have a teachers only mailing list that we send out our information, so each individual teacher puts our information in their individual little newsletter?
But not everyone does individual newsletters. Sometimes it's by an entire grade.
And it's only like once a month. I think I've gotten 1, 2,
I think I've
fourth grade
maybe
newsletters.
gotten 2 4th grade ones.
Yeah, I've gotten, I think 1 2nd grade one.
I think we need to pass along information to Trinity and Jess that the feedback from Family Connections is that there appears to be a gap in communication, and that while we appreciate the video content, it is not a sufficient substitute.
Well, I think too, you know, this year is really hard for a lot of staff for a lot of reasons at a lot of schools, not just Marcy. And I know that there's also a lot of family members who would love to kind of help fill in and volunteer and help fill those gaps. And I think that that's part of kind of the missing communication link, that if we weren't kind of all going on our own track and our own speed, and there was more kind of a coordinated effort, that might also help with communication, because then teachers, you know, can spend more time doing this instead of that, because something else is being taken care of that a parent volunteer can be helping with, whatever it may be, whether it's making copies or stuffing folders or reading with a kid, or I don't know.
So remind me, if we had an email,
Well, you just muted yourself.
my mouse is fussy anyways. So if we had something we wanted sent out, could we draft an email and have school administration send it to the parents? Because they've got that email newsletter list. Or is that not, like, we wouldn't see any personal information?
Yes, but it doesn't necessarily happen in a timely manner. Like, it takes a lot of nudging to get those emails sent out, and then they're not always in the same format that we ask them to be sent out in, and it's like done last minute, and somebody puts together like 2 sentences, and then you get that like random form email that's like, hey, meet at the playground later today, you know. It's not
And
necessarily, yeah.
printing flyers is cost prohibitive. Is that correct, or is that not correct?
Well, you also need someone to print off the flyers and distribute them and get them into all the folders and the backpacks.
But even if it was just an email newsletter every week, I mean, if we don't have the capacity on staff to do it, like Family Connections could help facilitate that, if then it could be distributed through the school list. Like, we can't send it out directly because we can't have those email addresses, but the school obviously has them. So if it's just a matter of like capacity to put together a newsletter every week, I feel like that's something we could help with.
Or even every other week.
Even
would
every
be
other week.
Something.
And then
Yo, what if we have after school enrichment class taught by volunteers, where the students put together a bi-weekly newsletter including all of our stuff, and then they cannot wait to show it to their parents, because look what they did. Every kid's taking it home in their backpack. This has my picture in it. I drew the comic. I wrote this story. It's literacy embedded support. Plus we can use it to subsidize our Northern play, because we can get parents to volunteer to help kids put it together, and like boom, boom, boom.
Marcy's
Brilliant.
Pretty challenging. That's going to be very challenging for elementary students. That's more of a middle grade type activity, but I think we could absolutely have a kids corner in the newsletter where, you know, art or a poem or something, and we should.
I mean, I hear that, but at the same time, like, if they're working closely with the type of ratio that you have in an after school class, right? Like, we're not talking about the most sophisticated information that has to go out. I mean, if it's what would go out in a newsletter, like, we're having a bake sale, we're meeting at the playground on this day, like, you know, think about the
I mean, did you see the Word document Parents Press that was sent out every?
Right.
I don't think Donna was super sophisticated.
Students could do
I'm
better
just
graphic
saying-
design than many of us.
you know, you would have to have adult mentorship, making sure that the information was accurate.
Right.
And it wouldn't be a sophisticated layout, you know, in terms of like graphics and a paper and stuff like that, but as like a single page flyer, I don't know, just throwing it out there, could maybe meet a few needs.
Yeah. I think that's.
After school newsletter
Or-
club.
What happened to, there was talk of like a student council forming.
Oh, yeah.
Does anyone know if anything happened
I
with
think
that?
that's a site council question. To ask next week at
Got
site
it.
council.
Is there a person that's on site council here? That's.
There, well, oh, we're being recorded, aren't we? Yes, yes, there is.
Yeah, we can we can talk and share and collaborate and see what solutions we can come up with. Using our combined power.
I'll volunteer to email Hannah back and say, what about this idea of an after school like newsletter club? Because she's at the school every day, maybe she can.
I think
know,
the main problem is getting
yeah.
someone getting the supervision for that. She seemed to be very willing for any classes as long as she has volunteers to teach them.
Yeah. But maybe she has connection with somebody who said they'd volunteer for a different class and she could like, see if they have friends.
Or maybe knowing that there's an interest for this club, she could connect with like some graphic arts students at the U who have to get in volunteer hours.
Or the Hennepin County Library, which is such a good partner. I think I can look into this a little bit too to see what might be out there in terms of volunteer partnership for after school journalist club, but I'll report back.
I think Hannah said that, she reached out and it was just kind of a communication non-response. So yeah, but maybe a specific like, hey, can you help with this very specific thing?
Yeah.
As opposed to a general, what could you offer?
Yeah.
Might get a different response.
Maybe like the Minnesota Daily at the U of M wants to partner.
All right, it is almost 8 o'clock. There are two really quick things that I want to talk about just really quick. The first one is next week, a week from today, Tall Paul, who is an Anishinaabe and there's a tribal affiliation, but he's a hip hop.
Oneida.
Yes, thank you, Emmy. He is a hip hop artist. He is going to perform at Marcy tomorrow after site council. There will be community dinner, and then his performance, and then he'll be doing a little bit of a Q&A afterwards for anybody. Jess is doing a lot of the coordinating and planning with that. She was unable to be here. And so I was hoping to find out what kind of volunteer needs were still needed for that. But please stay tuned so that once we know that information, we can share it out widely. She was also hoping to do like a intro video to show all the classes so that all the students could be like, who haven't heard of Tall Paul, or even who have heard, but could like remember or see another thing or whatever the case may be, so that they might be really excited about it and share with their families like, oh, we gotta go to Marcy.
You said tomorrow, but it's next week.
I'm sorry, yes, it's a week from today. It is next Thursday, the 17th. The community dinner is from 5:30 to 6:15, then the performance will be 6:15 to 7, I believe, and then the Q&A after that. I might be slightly off with those times.
5:30 to 6:15, 6:15 to 7:15.
So is there a communication plan to get this information to parents?
Well, I made a flyer. I don't know if it's going out to anyone.
A flyer has been made and it has been translated into Spanish and Somali. We will share it on the Facebook page and the website.
Of course. I'll email the webmaster right now.
But as part of this communication, yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, who is in charge? I know there was, in the beginning of the year, it was unclear who was in charge of our website. Do we know who?
Trinity and Hannah Edwards are right now. And they do like the events page, which we don't have control over. When I said adding to the website, I meant the Family Connections events tab on our Google site, because that's what we have control over.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be cool if like that was the first thing that popped up when you looked at the Marcy page.
Marcy.
Yep.
What if it was actually a pop-up?
Whoa,
That's too advanced.
that's
That's
something.
very fancy.
But one of the things, I was attending a meeting earlier this week and another school group had found much success using WhatsApp as a form of communication instead of meetings or in addition to meetings, and people can join different groups that might be helpful. It automatically translates, so we're not we have a little bit more flexibility with language. And that was something that I wanted to look into and start discussing with setting something like that up for Marcy, but it's also 8:02 and everyone is tired and the whole world is exhausted. And so I don't want to take any more time, but I just wanted to kind of start that conversation about creating like a WhatsApp Marcy community option. Or to hear other thoughts or ideas too.
I think that would be beneficial. I think that's an app that a lot of families use already. Was this Emerson by chance, Molly?
Yeah, it was integrated
Okay.
schools, and I called Molly too and asked if she was available to meet with us as Family Connections.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, they've done a whole process of decolonizing their PTA and really changing up the whole structure to make it inclusive and really family centered. I think we could definitely take some tips from them. I think that would be a good thing to explore.
We just need a newsletter or message or something.
Some way to communicate that to everyone.
To share that out so people can join. All right, oh,
But
hang on.
people enter standby.
just gotta touch the screen. Okay, all right, so I will follow up with communications and solutions, and you'll follow up with Hannah on a journalism club or options to do newsletter creation, and we will look into WhatsApp options too. And maybe even could be beneficial for classroom teachers and communicating with families as well, as an option. So maybe I will also put out some feelers for classroom teachers and see their thoughts on that as well.
Okay, so to be clear, it's Kate is the one who's going to be following up with Hannah?
Yes.
Okay, got it. And then who is planning Claire, are you going to be planning the children voting for the name of the Marlin? Or is this all
Yeah.
planning for later?
We should probably ask school
Well, it
administration
has
if
to
they
be,
like.
yeah, it has to be a school administration partnership, but I'll bring that up as an option to see what they think of that idea. I thought that it might be fun, you know, get like the students involved and be like, yeah, let's name our Marlin. And then they
Every
could have the
class should
submissions.
like come up with their submission.
Yeah, we could have the submissions in November, vote in December, and then before we leave for break, we would have a name for the Marcy
We
Marlin.
should have figured this out to happen in conjunction with elections.
Yeah.
That's what I was
You
gonna say.
know
but
what?
it's- that's pretty
Elections
cool.
are all the time and there's gonna be a Georgia runoff. And so it's going to be in the news. And so it's just we're just in preparation for future elections. We're just so on the top of it.
We're not behind at all.
We're so far ahead.
Mhm.
Can I
If
ask a quick
classrooms come-
question? Oh, go ahead, Sonia.
I was just gonna say, if classrooms come up with their submissions as a class through a primary process, that, you know what I mean? We gotta narrow it down through the primary and then we get to our final vote, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking,
Can we do
ranked choice
internal
voting.
Yes, I agree. Yes, let's do it. Just prepping them to be future Minneapolis voters.
Yes. I mean, what were you saying?
Oh, it's different topics. If there's anything else to say about
Oh.
naming the Marlin.
I think done.
Just quickly, I was wondering if there's any kind of, I can't remember if we've done or will do any kind of like teacher appreciation thing before winter break. This I'm asking because I told Lily I would because she said she was planning a teacher day with her friend. And she wants it to be a potluck on the playground. And I said, that's a cool idea and might not be feasible, but I'll ask if we do something else. So I'm asking on behalf of her.
In the past, we haven't. It's the big kind of meal during Teacher Appreciation Week, which is like the second week in May or something. But I'm not opposed to something. If somebody else wants to plan it and execute
tell her.
it.
I'll
and
tell her
take
to
care
plan
of that.
Tell that first grader to just run with it.
Yeah. But, you know, doing something where like all the students like make their teachers cards or some other form of like verbal or homemade like thank you, that would be very sweet and heartfelt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, something low key or like a nice send off to winter break.
Sounds like we need an after school, like Marcy Community Service Club that does, you know, communication and appreciation.
Yeah.
And copies.
Copies, they could like do the planting in the front of, you know, trash pickup.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd force my kid to join.
This is Sonia. If it would be okay to quickly share, because this group might be interested to know that Minnesota elected its first 2 transgender school board members in the history of the state, me and then also a trans woman in Eastern Carver County School District. And nationally, prior to this midterm, there were 8 openly transgender or non-binary school board members in the country out of 9,000, and nationally 9 were elected this midterm. So the number of openly trans or non-binary school board members in the country more than doubled after this election. And I just think that that's really hopeful and cool with the climate as it is right now. So.
And we have our first trans state rep out of the Lauderdale Falcon Heights district.
Lee
and
Finke, and she is fantastic. I went to one of her events and saw her speak, and she said that, what did she say? We are the practitioners of a world that does not yet exist. And she gave like, she is one of those representatives who I would just like, tell me where to go and what you need me to do to support you. So exciting.
That is so exciting.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
And there's also a newly elected trans rep on Montana, I think, is where I saw. But yeah,
Surprising.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Okay. We're gonna be all done unless anybody else has anything else they want to share or say.
Congrats again, Sonia.
Yes.
Yay!
Thanks.
Like an inauguration ceremony.
We're seated the first week of January. There is a special school board meeting. I think it is the 2nd, where they like swear us in or whatever that process is. But I don't know if you'll know that they actually started onboarding us before the election, that the district has not done this before.
Oh.
So because the work is so immediate and great, and there are 5 new school board members who the board has to be functional as a working board on day 1. They actually began the school board member onboarding process in September after the primary, with all of the candidates that made it through the primary. And
wow.
to have us learn all of the policies and all of those types of things. And then only the board members who are elected will continue with the remainder of the process, but they're continuing. I have like 12 hours of onboarding before winter break. So in addition to what we've already done. So I think it's fantastic because we are going to have to be ready to work on day one. We're not going to be able to take January to kind of get our feet under us. So hopefully that makes you feel hopeful.
I'd love to hear that because so often I don't hear about kind of anticipatory needs being met and planned for. So that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to have school board meeting watch parties where we all eat popcorn and watch Sonia. And charge admission so that it's a fundraiser. Okay, I'm mostly just kidding. Okay, bye everybody.
Thank you for your time.
Bye.
Bye.